Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order, and if you could please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Well, it's fine.
I need a motion to adopt the agenda. Motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passes. At this point, we're going to open it up to citizens' privilege, where the public can give us their input on the budget before we go into a discussion of the budget. So in the audience, we have two people. Do either one of you want to ask a question or make a statement?
I was here to listen, obviously,
Okay.
they'll all be talking out on the playground in my mouth. Sure.
Okay, so citizen privilege is now closed. So we're going to look at new business review and discussion of fiscal year 2024 general fund and water fund operating budget and 5-year capital improvement plan. So the town manager and other department heads will take over from there.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome. We're glad you're here, and anybody that's participating remotely. But anyway, we're glad to be here to discuss the proposed FY24 operating budget. What we thought is we'd run through a short PowerPoint presentation, and we can answer questions as we go, or afterwards we can answer questions, which whatever you pleasure. Okay. So there's a lot on this slide, but I'll run through it and hopefully make it a little easier. Here we highlight some of the aspects of the proposed operating budget. First, we presented a balanced budget as required, and that required no tax rate increase for the fiscal year. You'll recall that in FY23, in the budget that will be ending at the end of April, we reduced the tax rate by 3 cents. Therefore, last year's, what we're recommending is last year's tax rate will be maintained in the proposed budget as is, unless changes come about from this discussion. We've also included a cost of living adjustment for wages that aligns with the consumer price index for Mid-Atlantic region of 6.393% for all employees, with the exception of the contracted employees, which is the chief and myself. A COLA of 2.893 has been included for the contracted employees. Some personnel items that we wanted to highlight in FY24, the budget. We have funding for the part-time seasonal codes employee. This would be the second year for this position. And we again included funding for the police department's front desk staff that work during the summer from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And that's been in place for several years. We've included funding for a police officer, another police officer position associated with the placement of an SRO school resource officer at Lord Baltimore Elementary School. We also increased funding for an existing public works position seeking a higher level of skills during our recruitment, which is underway. Lastly, we included modifications to some of the fees we charge for the fee schedule. It's up for consideration by council, and the fees were increased based on research covering our costs and also increased costs for our solicitor now that we have a new solicitor after Dennis's retirement. Okay, so this slide shares the summary of the proposed FY 24 operating budget, which is highlighted in yellow on this slide. And with comparison to the FY 23 adopted budget figures, which is in green on this slide. All of the detail and all of the additional information that fed this summary slide is included in the full operating budget document. I hope everybody could hear me. I have a pretty big mouth. Anyway, of course, FY 25 through 28, the out years that's our forecasting right now. But of course, all of the years as we get to them are reviewed much more closely as we did for this budget. Here we have the 5-year capital improvement program. In summary format again, with greater details of the projects for each of the fund sources, for each of the projects being recommended to be funded in the full budget document. The proposed capital program for FY 24 totals $4.5 million. It's higher than typically, but it's an aggressive year, but we're going to get a lot accomplished with it. But it also drives home the importance of funding our trust funds, not by relying on the transfer tax revenues to support the general fund operations. So, and lastly, we do not have any water utility projects anticipated in the capital program. This slide shows our forecasted revenue based on conservative estimates using past years' actuals and information related to the various development projects and anticipated grants. As is regular and customary, our largest source of income comes from our taxing of real property. Again, with the determination this year that there'll be no requirement for a tax rate increase. With this slide, we attempted to share information related to last calendar year's property tax reassessment, which is required by the town to do every 5 years by code. We also acknowledge that we can continue our existing tax rate, even though we do anticipate having less permit revenues coming in, and that we will be experiencing higher costs for things. In addition, we randomly selected properties showing comparison between their assessed value and actual sales prices. We can advise that 118 homes sold in Ocean View from the start of fiscal year 23, which was May 1, 23 through January, or 22, I'm sorry, through January 23. So this January, a 9-month period, and all but 7 sold above their assessed value, some substantially so. This is a strong indication that Ocean View is a desired location to purchase a home, to purchase property. And that's one of the prime goals of everything that we do, is to maintain our property value and the high quality of life in the town. As always, we think it's important to share information in different ways. Everybody gathers things differently. This chart shows in bar graph format the changes to the town's tax rate from FY 17 through 24 as proposed. Likewise, the FY 24 value of a 1 cent on the tax rate equals $134,448. That means that with every increase or decrease of 1 cent of our tax revenue, it either increases or decreases. Okay, that's the value of 1 cent on the tax rate. Here's now we show the FY 24 expense projection by funding source and division in a pie chart. Expenses from the street repair and replacement trust fund are coming in as the highest, again, showing we're planning to continue to address our infrastructure substantially in FY '24. One of the things we often get asked is how do we compare to other towns? It's not as easy as getting tax rates because everybody's tax situation is different, and also what services they offer are different. So we did get this updated with the various towns this year. Personnel expenses, of course, being one of the highest costs for local, county, and state governments, we wanted to share the comparison. We know that the range for personnel costs can fall between 40 to 80% of a budget. Ocean View's FY '24 proposed operating budget has personnel costs making up 55% of our budget. We can highlight that some neighboring towns' percentage of wages and benefits, with a caveat that not all the towns provide the same services, 3 having beach patrols that we do not, and 1 having no beach patrol or police department. So, and then you really have to kind of dive down into, well, are they accomplishing with their budget? You know, how much is going to be take place during that year? So it's not really as easy as apples to apples for sure, but it's something that we think is worth providing you. So services at a glance, we have a packet back there that we update every year with all the services at a glance. People like to get a hold of that from time to time. So we just kind of focused on some of the main ones with the first bullet points, and the full service police department, planning and development oversight, property maintenance codes, maintenance inspections, storm management, including our snowplow operations, salting, and severe storm cleanup events, planning, financial support of local volunteer fire company. We, as you know, we'll probably talk about that, but the town does provide Millville an annual grant of approximately $80,000 every year. That's what's in the budget this year. Street maintenance and drainage projects, mosquito control, and there's a whole list, 3 or 4 pages in the overall services at a glance, and that is on our website. We also wanted to highlight all the community events that we've enjoyed great community support from, and they're listed there. We've also been very active with our partnerships development. The Historical Society, the South Coastal Village Volunteers, who are one of our tenants here, Special Olympics, the Salt Air Gardeners, the Chamber of Commerce, Sussex County, the League of Local Governments, DelDOT, DENREC, DART, Delmarva Power, and some of the local service groups such as Scout Troop 281. So there's a lot going on, and all of this involvement is, for the betterment of the community. We did add in here the Burzins natural area, which we purchased last year in October, and we purchased it fully with grant funds. Okay, and right now to date, we have already received commitment of $825,000 from the transportation. Oh, that's a typo. Trans Afterpay. It's Transportation Alternative Program. Sorry about that. I didn't catch that. The TAP program is a grant program, and $825,000 is going to go towards that development. And we also got outdoor recreation trail grant from DENREC, $60,000. And we are on the schedule for Sussex County's March meeting to make a request of Sussex County. So if we're able to pull it off substantially, the development of the park we bought with grant funds is going to also be developed in the same fashion. So if we can do it, there'll be something to be proud of. So this presentation was just a summary. As you know, the budget book is very large. We didn't want to go through every slide with you. We want to hear your questions and respond to them. But I wanted to take a moment just to say thank you to the staff for all of their input during the process. Everybody was very timely, everybody was very engaged in the process, allowing us to create the document that we have now. But I have to thank Dawn because she has great skills with our new budget model. And we think there's a lot of good information in the document. It kind of really tells the full story of our community and where it's going. And I just want to thank everybody for their cooperation. But we'd be happy to answer questions now from the council and
Okay.
go from there.
Question, I didn't see it when I went through the budget books, but on page 4 of your present of your PowerPoint. The street repair and replacement trust fund has nothing in it for the out years of 27 and 28. Does that mean all the work that we're going to do will be finished, or we have no other projects?
That would be,
We just don't forecast any further out than
26.
yeah, any more than 3 years after the prices vary.
Okay, so it doesn't mean that we're finished.
No, there will always be projects and always things to fix and pay and but no sense that when you start getting 3-4 years out, to put a number in there it's not gonna hold.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Does anyone in the council have any further questions? We did have a discussion, a couple of us, Councilman Cobb and myself, with the budget director and the town manager, and we had about 20 questions.
yeah,
Do we want to go through those?
we certainly can.
Does anyone feel that we need to? No?
Not really.
Okay,
They came out as an email.
Right, they came in an email, that's what I was talking about. I
So
saw.
one thing, question, Mr. Mayor, I had about on page 71 about staffing events at the park. Are we going to be able to get by this year? Because you said we're just about maxed out, and I know we're adding a new event.
Yeah,
Is that going to?
yeah, we expect to be able to get by, and more than get by. We have in recent, for bigger events, we have called in some temporary help. And that's worked out pretty good. But point is taken, the question that was asked was, are we going to be able to continue to maintain offering the events with the current level of staff? I have a high level of involvement with it as well. And as we add a park and anything that comes with it, or if other things start requiring attention, then we may need to look at like maybe a part-time person to actually, handle the events. It's something that's on our radar for sure. But not this year. I think the time for the new park to be developed will give us time to kind of figure things out. Of course, Cops and Goblins, the police department is heavily involved in that. I help out a tiny little bit with that. Some of our programming is very simple, put up the movie screen and just be here. Mayor and council are aware that my position, I work however many hours I need to get the job done. So when I'm working at our events, that's not extra money. It's just because I think it's important, and so does the council since they've supported it. So that's a long answer, but it is something that we're probably gonna have to think of, especially if we have desire to add more.
Do you think we might, that citizens in the town might consider volunteering to work those events, like the volunteers that work all the hours at the police department,
Yeah, it's a possibility. It's definitely a possibility. Keep in mind that if you're going to have volunteers, somebody's got to recruit them. Somebody's got to teach them what to do, or tell them what to do, or so. We do get volunteers for certain things. One of the things we've tried to do is all our partnerships. Like, we don't handle any food. Boy Scout Troop 281 has been a partner since 2019, coming in to offer the food. They make the money, we get the food at the event, and it's a perfect relationship because we're not really geared up to be, doing food, selling food. And we have some other types of groups that Bonkies comes, for instance, to most of our things in the summer. So more of a more partnerships. Even our new event, the Spring Fling event, we're trying to develop it such that we have to coordinate it, but okay, these people come in here. We're gonna have cleanup and setup, yes. But it's just, we're coordinated, kind of like the orchestra leader for the event. Not doing all the hard labor.
Any other questions? If not, then we're gonna open it up to citizens privilege.
That was my next question, I guess, for the citizen.
So I would ask that you state your name and your address.
Yeah, my name is Dave.
Excuse me.
Russ, do I need to put the podium up? Or need to?
Just turn the mic down.
This.
Yeah, my name's Dave Rogerson. I live in Woodland Park. I have a question. I'm not sure. I'm reading this about the CATV MediaCom thing. I run the locals only webpage. So I have about 6,000 members now on this. We started out a few years ago with a handful of people. So the webpage is strictly no bad talking, no downing, no bullying, no cussing, no politics. However, if somebody asks a question such as cable TV or is there screens replaced or whatever, that's the purpose of the webpage. So just for my personal benefit, I'm reading this about the CATV MediaCom cable. I'm going to get asked 1,000 questions about this. Could you just explain to me briefly what in our budget we paid for MediaCom? Because as you know, the word on the street or whatever in the atmosphere around here is not real positive. Is that nicely put as I can put it?
Okay, so what you're looking at is what page, and I think it's our revenue that we get from.
It's a CATV MediaCom cable. We pull back further.
That's the two channels.
Do we actually?
Page number, just so I
It doesn't have a page number. It's on the 2024.
Well, anyway, I can draw on that. Here's the massive revenue.
Yep.
We had a couple of years, 2 years ago, I think, started pulling back the amount that the town gets. We get 5% of all their sales to everybody who gets MediaCom in the town. And that's through our franchise agreement. To offer cable TV, you have to have a franchise agreement.
Okay.
Okay, so that is revenue that we get in, and we brought it back because we thought there was going to be more people refer to it as cord cutting, where people are not having cable and they're doing satellite.
Right.
So we were pulling back the revenues that we forecasted, thinking we were not going to get it. But that has not proven so. We are getting the revenue at the higher rate. So people are still sticking with MediaCom, and I'll talk about that second. And we're still getting 5% of whatever they're doing business-wise in the town. Now, as far as people being unhappy with MediaCom, we're very happy to entertain anybody's specific concerns, and I get involved with that all the time. But we have also been in conversation with Comcast about coming, and they say they're coming, but we don't have dates. They have, of course, signed a franchise agreement with South Bethany and Bethany.
Yes.
So we're the natural next town.
Sure.
And further back history is that in 2019, all the towns got together, engaged them
Right.
to have more power in numbers. Okay, so we do believe they're coming. We just don't have a date when.
Right.
And they haven't, initiated the franchise agreement yet. The thing is, they would pay the same thing. Okay, so the revenues, if you're going to pick this company or that company, could be 3 companies if they were here.
Right.
We'd get 5% from any of them. Okay, because they would all have the cable franchise, but that does not speak to internet. There's no franchise agreement for internet. Right now, they come together. That's probably going to change down the road, but right now, internet concerns I still get involved with if anybody's having any problems.
Yeah, I don't have their internet, so I sympathize with the people that have businesses or work from home that use the internet because it is out a lot. And apparently the equipment that they get from quote Mediacom is substandard, and they go out and get their own equipment. It seems to work better than Mediacom's internet, so to speak, from what I understand. Well, knock on wood, I shouldn't brag about it. I have had them for, I guess, 18 years now, the cable TV. I do not use their internet. Anyway, I'm just good as clear as this up, because you hear all these rumors and people say, you know, the town's in bed with Mediacom and blah, 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 you know, all this nonsense. It's like, it's nice to know what it actually is. I have heard that Comcast is coming. I've talked to Verizon guys and a couple of friends that are Verizon guys, and they wanted to put the Fios in here, you know, but they couldn't run that cabling. It's too expensive.
It's all about economics.
Yeah, it's
for all
very
the
expensive. We
companies.
have so many people that are seasonal, so they're not here full time using that. That fiber optics is wicked expensive, and if it breaks, you can't just patch the cable like you can do a telephone line or a television cable. You have to go back to a hub where this fiber optics comes from to actually make a slice, and that's very, very expensive. So we'll never see that probably in our.
Yeah, I have no anticipation from Verizon, but we have reached out. But I will tell you that for anybody that's interested, Mayor and Council know, we do have, because of the kind of the rumor stuff where people that in bed with Mediacom, if 5 companies wanted to have a franchise agreement with us, we would entertain them all unless we had some reason to think they weren't going to be good.
That's good to know.
So but they're the only ones that want to be here right now.
Right.
Okay, so we're kind of, you know, that's kind of how it is. And I can say, in fairness to Mediacom, I have not had any complaints in recent months. Okay, and they have been making some improvements. I'll probably have complaints tomorrow. And I, you know, I definitely welcome and I get involved to the extent I can to help.
The service is apparently the biggest issue where people that have their business, and I sympathize with them. There are a lot of people working from home. If that internet's out, they can't work. So when they call Mediacom on all occasions, but on some occasions, they're not getting the proper response, and they're going like, "Well, we'll come out next week." Well, these people can't live without it for a week.
Yeah, and people, even though it's a cable franchise, when I do engage for internet, even though it's not a franchise that we really have a say in.
Right.
And they have responded. So they're, you know, they're not, yeah. So, but I
So
mean, on
just-
behalf of other people.
Just to let you know, I was the president of one of the associations in town here for
Right.
a few years. And we did have Verizon come out and talk to us about providing TV coverage. They said they no longer put in the cables. You have to stream it.
Right.
And the cost of streaming was more expensive than Mediacom.
That is true.
So
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, unfortunately, if you have a problem, I see that people make these comments on the internet or on a little page that we have the town page, and they say they haven't got a response, and then somebody will make some comment, we'll call the manager. You might as well go out and yell in the parking lot, because it doesn't happen. Now, in your case, you have a little more pull than the average citizen, so I'm sure if you call, you might get a little more.
Yeah, no, I have no problem. And I've done it hundreds of times. So it's something that I have no problem doing for people in our town. There's a lot of people who have an Ocean View address.
Yes.
And they may call, and depending on how serious their issue is, I may get involved or not, but really I'm here to help the people who live in Ocean View.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you for the information, I appreciate it.
Hey, Dave, I'll jump in and just add one thing, because I'm a member of the page as well, and historically, I think that the whole issue has been that we have a franchise agreement with Mediacom.
Yeah,
But I just want to stress that does mean we're in bed with Mediacom.
right.
As the town manager said, if there was 50 cable companies,
Yeah.
we would have 50 franchise. So it's not like an exclusive deal where we can only do business with Mediacom. Because
A lot of nasty comments about you all.
Yeah.
so
So
I see that all the time. I'm like, these people have no.
that's why we did the piece that we did last year, and it's on our website, and we share it. Donna shares it, I share it, whatever.
Yeah.
when I was in Newark, we had Comcast and Verizon
Right.
franchise agreements, and we would too. And like I said, ourselves and the other towns got together, and we have been courting Comcast, so to speak. And they're starting to come, so.
It'll be interesting to see how long it takes to be burned out, Bethany, or I think Sunnyville doing it as well. Buddy told me.
South Bethany's in already,
Yeah,
it's in.
she's got it.
yeah,
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, West Fenwick, they're coming up 54.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Any other questions? Yes.
I have one. I'm Randy Red West. I live across the street from you guys. I'm 5 years student. And also, they're not call me guys. I love you guys. Place is the greatest place I ever lived. And I haven't lived in too many other places. But I can tell you, history is doctor, I still trade. And I've had numerous times sell and internet store. And I call them up and I say, what's the deal with this? I don't care if the guys win. You know, doesn't matter to me at all. But when I look at it, they can't put out a good product. People that, my daughter's the same thing, she doesn't, she got psychologist, and she run it in my house.
Mm.
She's an ocean, but not the city.
Mhm.
She run it in my house, Dad, you're in it. So she gets on the Zoom to talk about clients. Or the elementary visit us for dinner. And she said, what's wrong with your internet? I said, same problem you're in. So she ran back to her house. And I called her one day home and I said, your internet, our internet's up. So we can come on back. But that's the thing, people that are in business, me, I don't care, you miss a trade once in a while. But what he's saying, a lot of people, because of the pandemic, work out of their houses. And I don't have that, I am born and raised in Baltimore, or different Baltimore there. But even the big guys, I had Comcast forever, and everything is our fault, my fault. It's my modem, which was there, so I bought mine, so they don't want to hear it. That's a big problem.
Well, if you're still having trouble,
I had twice guys.
let me,
I'm not expecting you to do that.
well,
They gotta pay a problem.
yeah, but if we can help, I mean, I can tell you, people who I have interjected myself on behalf, I have not had calls back.
Yeah, they always tell me it's my fault.
Like that it's, so I'd be happy to help.
So I think the other thing that people should be aware of is if you have an HOA, but if you have one, they negotiate cable TV and internet with MediaCom. And I live in Bear Trap, and when we negotiated it, we negotiated to make sure that we had someone to call specifically to take care of our neighborhood. Number one, and number two, that they had to respond within 24 hours. And since we put that in the contract, we haven't had any problems.
Yeah, the only problem is the mountain. They don't care. Then you can get away with it.
Well, they know that Comcast is in the area,
I
so,
called my husband
Yeah.
last year. They said, we can't come. This is, I said, have you been down there?
yeah.
You know, I bought my car 35 years ago, it was $5,000. There was no chicken news. And I was glad, I said, my father, I said, don't buy a car. He said, I smell it off there. He's not always gonna smell. And I look at it now, Jesus, it's like Florida City. Yeah, everywhere's blade grass. I miss it being not. But I understand, and property guy, the biggest problem we have, and I've seen on the ground too. You have farms that are individually owned by families. Kids don't want to work that hard, so they sell the farms, and you have like that one thing down the street, when they're gonna build up.
Off of Woodland?
Guys, they want 100 homes in that little spot, that's a wooded area. off
Yeah,
of-
Woodland Avenue, the new annex, newly annexed. Yeah.
No, he said behind us though.
Well,
Behind the 201 Central, kind of on the other side.
Oh, behind our building?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
And I'm looking at that, I'm thinking. I have more deers in my yard than I've ever had, because it's unfortunate, they're.
I'm the report of you.
Except my, I had to get up early the other day and, it's like 4 in the morning, it was, and, my light went on the side. And, I looked real fast, I saw the butt of a deer, I must have got scared from the light. Carrying out in the yard, but they just love everything I'm planting. And heck out of it. But I tell you, one of the biggest things I love about this place, we're just living in Baltimore, in Baltimore town. I'm not blowing smoke up your backside, this is true. When you want a police officer, they'll work you fast. You might wait an hour, somebody could be breaking in your house and waiting an hour. Right? Here, I see you guys up and down my front street, I don't know, if it's because of the close, but the
That's why we can see the deer.
yeah, 2 or 3 times a day, and I'm stunned by that. They got out one day and my sister-in-law was behind me. And, you know, they're full time and, a young woman got out, she's looking in the window and all. And I must have looked like some kind of elevator, so I yelled out the back of my window, "It's officer, is anything wrong?" He says, "No, just checking to make sure everyone's fine." That's unheard of. And that's what I love about this place, I mean, it's because I feel so safe. I come down here, if I walk around this place in midnight, 2 in the morning. The only thing I fear is coyotes, deers. So I got.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I'm gonna close citizen privilege. I think at this point, we can move forward on the budget as it is, has been presented.
Okay, so a couple things that are kind of housekeeping. So if that's the case, then we had a date of March 28th for a second workshop. Should we assume we will not need that then?
I think we've always had both workshops, haven't we?
Last year we did
We
not.
did not?
I can't remember
Well,
about the year.
given
before.
the moment,
I mean, if we have more things to talk about, more questions to answer, then that's why you would have it.
Right.
Because we're not conducting any other business. And then your next council meeting in March, we have to have the introduction. So we need to, if we're not going to make any changes from the proposed, then we can introduce it as proposed at the next meeting. I would have an introduction and then, of course, first reading and public hearing.
Yeah.
Right. In April.
Yes.
You're done with us, can we go?
you can go if you want.
You can go anytime you want.
I'm staying with meeting arrangements.
Okay, so seeing that we really don't have any other comments to make on the budget, we can go ahead and get it ready to be presented for the next council. We can cancel the workshop.
Okay. Okay.
Are you all in agreement with that?
Yes.
And we appreciate, Mayor and Council, your diving into it and reaching out so we could clarify anything in advance.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? From the town council members?
Councilman Torzik is here.
Ah,
Yes,
how long have you been on?
I couldn't get in till about 5 minutes into the workshop.
Okay.
I had trouble getting in. I had to update things.
Does she need any questions? Councilwoman Torzik, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay.
You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good.
All right, then I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor? Uh-huh.
Aye.
All right.
bye.
So, thank you all for coming.
Okay, that's it.